Imagine two leaders. The first governs the largest empire in human history. Every day he personally reviews 120 pounds, approximately 55 kilograms, of official documents. He sleeps 4 hours a night. He trusts no one. He delegates nothing. He is always working, always moving, always deciding. His empire stretches from the Yellow Sea to the Gobi Desert. He holds more power than any living person. The second leader governs a kingdom 1/10 its size. He works in the mornings, rests in the afternoons, and lets go completely in the evening. He delegates everything he can. He disappears for days. His ministers can barely find him. 500 years after both men died, only one of them is remembered as the destroyer of his own creation. His name was Ying Zheng, the first emperor of unified China, Qin Shi Huang. And the story of how the hardest working man in Chinese history became China's fastest history lesson is the story we will tell today. If this kind of ancient career wisdom interests you, subscribing takes 3 seconds. In 221 BC, at the age of 38, Ying Jing unified 6 warring kingdoms under a single empire. This was something never done before in history. A territory stretching from the north of China to the south, from east to west, brought under the control of a single man, a single will, a single endless work discipline. Qin Shi Huang woke up early every morning. He would begin reviewing official documents. Every day he personally read, evaluated, and approved 120 pounds, approximately 55 kilograms, of written documents. He left no decision to anyone else, delegated no matter to anyone. He slept 4 hours a night. The remaining 20 hours were spent governing the empire. In the modern business world, this man would be admired. He would be featured on podcasts. He would be presented as the supreme example of hustle culture. But here is what most people don't know. The Qin Dynasty lasted only 15 years. The man who built the largest empire in the world watched everything collapse 4 years after his death. Except he couldn't watch, because he was already dead. His son took the throne. Within 2 years, rebellions began. Within 3 years, the dynasty fell. Everything Qin Shi Huang had personally built became unable to breathe the moment he died. Why? The answer is hidden in a concept Lao Tzu wrote in the 6th century BC in the archives of the Zhou dynasty. Tao Te Ching, Chapter 9. Lao Tzu was the court archivist of the Zhou dynasty. He lived in Henan province, in what is today the city of Luoyi. Throughout his life he watched dynasties rise and fall, and he gathered what he saw into a single slim book, the Tao Te Ching. 81 chapters. 5,000 words. The most translated text in human history. In Chapter 9 of the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu writes, "He who keeps on filling a vessel will lose it. He who keeps on grasping will let it slip." Qin Shi Huang had read these lines. He knew them, and yet he had not understood them. Because what Lao Tzu meant was this: every system has a point at which it needs to breathe. Every source of power has a moment at which it needs to be renewed. Every leader, every organization, every career grows stronger not when it stops, but when it learns how to stop. This is called Wei, forcing itself, constant intervention, constant control, constant action. Opposite Wei stands WuWei, action without forcing, letting things flow, trusting the system, knowing how to withdraw at the right moment. Modern neuroscience confirms this in a different language. Sheena Iyengar's research on decision fatigue at Columbia University shows that the number of quality decisions a human brain can make in a day is limited. Every decision lowers the quality of the next one. Qin Shi Huang made hundreds of decisions a day. You can imagine how his brain was functioning at the most critical moments, the moments that determined the future of the dynasty. Wei destroyed him, but he couldn't see it. Because the most dangerous thing about Wei is this: while it's working, it feels right. After the fall of the Qin Dynasty, the Han Dynasty rose. From 206 BC to 220 AD, for 400 years, it ruled China. The Han emperors adopted a different philosophy, Huanglao philosophy, a governance approach based on Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching. They made Wu Wei a matter of state policy. The emperor would work in the morning, rest in the afternoon, and leave the vast majority of decisions to ministers he trusted. The system could breathe on its own. Think of two leaders. Leader A works 70 hours a week. He personally reads every document. He makes every decision himself. He never rests. He never delegates. 5 years later, he is burned out. The people around him are burned out too. The system collapses along with him. Leader B works 40 hours a week. He gives the right tasks to the right people. He himself only makes the most critical decisions. He goes for a walk in the afternoon. 5 years later, the organization runs even in his absence, because the system doesn't depend on him. The difference is not talent. The difference is Wu Wei. Lao Tzu expresses this in chapter 17 of the Tao Te Ching. The best leader is one whose existence the people barely notice. Silicon Valley today calls this scalable leadership. Lao Tzu wrote this concept 2,600 years ago. But we need to pause here, because there is something most people miss. Qin Shi Huang was not foolish. He had read the Tao Te Ching. He knew Lao Tzu's teachings, and yet he fell into the trap of Wei. Why? Because Wei is not merely a habit. It becomes an identity. Qin Shi Huang had reached the top by working for decades. For him, working was the feeling of security. Control was, for him, existence itself. He didn't know what would happen if he stopped, because he had never stopped. Modern psychology calls this identity fusion, a person's identity becoming completely merged with the work they do. When you step away from your role, you feel as though you're losing yourself. This feeling prevents you from stopping. You work more, the system grows more exhausted, and the breaking point becomes inevitable. This is not a trap unique to emperors. Everyone who sits at the same desk every morning, works the same hours, and sees stopping as a luxury is inside this trap. In the second part, we will answer these questions. What does Wu Wei mean in practice? How do you apply it to your career? And what is the one step you can take this week to avoid repeating Qin Shi Huang's mistake? Lao Tzu writes in chapter 48 of the Tao Te Ching, "He who pursues knowledge adds something every day. He who pursues the Tao removes something every day. He removes and removes until he reaches action without forcing. With action without forcing, everything is done without anything being done." The first time you read this sentence, it sounds illogical. Doing everything without doing anything. The modern business world reads this as laziness, as inefficiency, as avoiding responsibility. But this is not what Lao Tzu meant. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. Wu Wei means doing the right thing, at the right time, in the right amount, neither more nor less. Like the flow of water. Water does not attack the stone. It flows around the stone. But given enough time, it pierces the stone. Because water never wastes its energy. It directs every drop of itself in the right direction. Qin Shi Huang did not flow like water. He struck like a sledgehammer, at everything, every day, without pause, and a sledgehammer grows dull the more it is used. Modern neuroscience confirms this fact with numbers. Roy Baumeister's research on self-control at Stanford University shows that the human brain's capacity for executive function, that is, the capacity for decision-making, prioritization, and strategic thinking, depletes on a daily basis. The only way to replenish this capacity is rest, sleep, empty space, silence. This was exactly what Qin Shi Huang deprived himself of. Qin Shi Huang's fall into the trap of Wei led to 3 concrete mistakes. These 3 mistakes repeat today in every organization, in every career story. First mistake, he made the system dependent on himself. Qin Shi Huang delegated nothing. Every decision had to pass through him. In the short term, this gave a feeling of control, but at the same time it planted a time bomb. When Qin Shi Huang died, the system collapsed not because it lost him, but because it had never learned how to exist without him. Confucius writes in Book 12 of the Analects, "A good leader inspires people to do what is right. A bad leader forces people to do what is right." The first type of leader grows the system. The second type makes the system dependent on himself. Qin Shi Huang was the second type. Second mistake. He confused speed with quality. 55 kilograms of documents per day. This number seems impressive. But think about it. Can a person truly read 55 kilograms of documents? Understand them? Evaluate them? No. Qin Shi Huang was processing documents, not digesting them. As speed increased, depth decreased. As depth decreased, the quality of decisions declined. As the quality of decisions declined, the empire slowly began to rot. Zhuangzi, writing in the State of Song in the 4th century BC, says, "Slow-flowing water becomes deep. Fast-flowing water remains shallow." This simple observation explains the efficiency of every modern organization. Depth is the first thing that speed sacrifices. Third mistake. He stopped listening. In Qin Shi Huang's final years, his court advisors had become afraid to tell him the truth. Because the emperor was too busy, too exhausted, and too powerful. The messenger who brought bad news was punished. The one who brought good news was rewarded. Truth slowly became unable to enter the court. Sun Tzu writes in Chapter 3 of The Art of War, "He who knows himself wins. He who knows his enemy wins. He who knows both wins 100 battles, 100 times." Qin Shi Huang correctly read neither himself nor reality, because he had no time to listen. Every minute of his was full. Now let us bring this philosophy to the present day. Drawing from Lao Tzu's teaching and modern career research, there are 4 concrete steps for applying Wu Wei to your own working life. First step. Take inventory of your decisions. List every decision you made this week. All of them, big or small. Then ask this question. Was it truly essential that I make these decisions? Which of them could someone else have made? Qin Shi Huang never asked this question. You should. Second step, make your system independent of yourself. Identify a task, process, or responsibility that could function without you, and hand that area over to someone else. Completely, not halfway. This step looks small, but is mentally the hardest, because giving up control means uprooting the deepest root of Wei. Third step, plan the empty space. Wu Wei does not happen by accident, it must be planned. Put specific hours of the week, for doing nothing, into your calendar. No meetings during these hours, no email, no decisions, just rest. The brain renews itself in these empty spaces, and a renewed brain makes decisions 10 times better than a tired one. Fourth step, be open to hearing the truth. Can the people around you tell you the truth? Can they bring you bad news? Or are they straining to please you? In Qin Shi Huang's court, truth fell silent. This was the end of the empire. How loud is the voice of truth in your organization? In 210 BC, at the age of 50, Qin Shi Huang died. They hid his death. They carried fish alongside his carriage to mask the smell of his decaying body. The court advisors did not announce the emperor's death for months, because the system did not know how to exist without the emperor. 4 years later, the dynasty fell. But Qin Shi Huang's legacy did not end with collapse. Ironically, the language spoken across much of China today, the writing system used, and the administrative structure applied are the systems he standardized. Wei destroyed him. But even within Wei, the structures he built in the moments when he paused to think survived for 2,200 years. Working is not wrong. Creating is not wrong. Building is not wrong. What is wrong is not allowing the system to breathe. What is wrong is feeling you must control everything. What is wrong is believing that stopping is weakness. Lao Tzu writes in Chapter 16 of the Tao Te Ching, "Return to emptiness. This return is destiny itself." Emptiness is not wasted time. Emptiness is the moment the system gathers strength for its next move. Water is visible when it flows. It deepens when it stops. Qin Shi Huang died at 50. He had read what Lao Tzu wrote, but had not understood it. He had worked 18 hours a day, but had not done the right thing. He had built the greatest empire, but had not left the empty space that would let it survive. Look at your own calendar. How many hours this week are genuinely empty? How many decisions were you able to delegate? How many hours can your system run without you? The answers to these questions tell you where your career journey stands. You don't need to be an emperor to be smarter than Qin Shi Huang. Knowing how to stop is enough. The Tao does not force. The Tao waits, and while waiting, it changes everything. Write this in the comments. Which of these 4 steps is hardest for you? Giving up control or planning the empty space?